Okay, we are live. Just give people a second to find it here.
All right.
Welcome back to the Holler. tnholler.com is where you can find us at the TN Holler on Twitter and Facebook. We also have hollers hollering all across the state. Thanks to your support. Really do appreciate it. A few bucks a month goes a long way. I'm going to dispense with most of the pleasantries because the mayor is a busy man and he's here joining us. Mayor Paul Young, recently elected in Memphis. Mayor Young, how are you today?
Doing good, doing good. Honored to be here with you, man. Look forward to our dialogue.
Absolutely. So let's just get into it. Reached out to you because of the press conference that happened today
Yes.
in Memphis. You stood with leaders from across the state, a lot of Memphis reps. Also, Speaker Sexton was in town. Jack Johnson, the majority leader, Republicans and Democrats. Can you just speak a little bit about what exactly the announcement was?
Yeah. Senator Johnson and Representative Speaker Sexton, they're going to be introducing a constitutional amendment that is going to allow for judges to have discretion on when to provide bail for violent offenses. Right now, you can only deny bail on a capital offense, basically first degree murder. This would expand that to other violent offenses. The bill is still in draft mode, and they're still finalizing what those other violent offenses will be. We certainly will be giving our feedback on, what we believe should be a part of that, and they've been open to receiving that. I know others will also be giving them feedback over the next week or so.
So, Speaker Sexton, Jack Johnson, when they reach out to say something like that, did you have any hesitations about, what they were presenting? What were your main concerns?
Well, I mean, first, let me say, Speaker Sexton and I have a pretty good relationship. Since I won, he called and he was in Memphis, so I got a chance to meet with him. This is the first time we actually had any work related issues to come to the forefront. And he called and reached out and asked about our ability to support. I asked to see the bill or what the draft looks like. We got a chance to see that. And my other question is it bipartisan? Will you have support from across the aisle? And he said that he would. And so, I wanted to make sure that our support had other supporters from, our Shelby delegation and ideally others from across the state.
Seems like one of the keys to this is that judicial discretion part, that it isn't about not allowing judges to give bail, that it's more about presenting the option.
Correct.
Uh, is that something that came up, and was that expressed to them as this can't just be you denying bail for all kinds of offenses and trying to keep as many people locked up as possible?
Well, I mean, that was definitely the first thought that I had, and he reassured that their intent was to have it such that it's just giving the judge the option. It's giving the judge the option to have discretion on when to set bail and when to not set bail. And so that's key to our support, and I'm sure that's key to other support. And they reiterated that that was their intent.
One of the problems that, I tend to have with those guys, and obviously you're mayor, you're being more diplomatic, but, you know, you mentioned at the end of your press conference that there would be other initiatives to prevent crime that didn't involve just more incarceration. I mean, it's hard to escape the fact that we are the most incarcerated country. Incarceration is something that happens a lot in Tennessee, and yet crime continues. We're
Right.
one of the most, incarcerated places. Poverty persists, underfunded education. We don't give people
Mhm.
health care, all kinds of housing issues. So, can you talk a little bit about the prevention part of this, the way you see it? And, I'd just be remiss if I didn't point out that those guys tend to be, keeping a lot of those solutions from happening that I think would actually be preventative. So that's why it's hard to take them seriously on a lot of this stuff. But how do you see prevention of crime?
Yeah, so I will say, for me, when I talk about public safety, I want to make sure that we define it in its broadest context because law enforcement, the criminal justice system, that's just one aspect. And I do firmly believe that those individuals that are wreaking the most havoc in our community, creating the most violent offenses, jail is a just punishment. The question is what happens when you go in jail? are you going to come out a better criminal or are you going to come out reformed? And so we have a whole list of things that need to happen while people are incarcerated. But when I talk about public safety, it's the enforcement side, and then it's the prevention. It's what things are you presenting to the young people before they go down the road of the criminal path? Do they have programs in their schools, in their community centers? Are you trying to lift them up out of poverty? Financial empowerment. Those are the prevention side. When we start talking about the intervention, which is the third leg of the stool, it's all about how are we going to take people who have demonstrated that they're headed down the wrong path and stop the skid? How do we interject opportunity and hope into their lives? We know who they are. They're in truancy court. They're getting suspended from school. We shouldn't just wait till we have to hold them accountable later. We should be out there putting programs into their lives right now, and ideally programs that touch not just them, but the rest of their family. And so, for me as mayor, I'm trying to do all three. And, I think it's really important that we have leaders in our community to understand that we got to do all three to bring the holistic public safety that we want.
Is that a conversation you've been able to have with Speaker Sexton and Senator Jack Johnson? Are you able to talk to them in that way about those things, and are they listening?
Absolutely. I've had that. Every time you hear me talk, you're going to hear me say the same thing, no matter what the audience is. You heard me say it at the press conference, and I'm going to continue to reiterate it because I think it's important for us to talk about it holistically. I've had the discussion behind the scenes in front of the cameras, and we're going to keep pushing it. And when it's time to push some of those programs through, we're going to ask for their support, just like we're going to ask for the Democratic support, because we want holistic public safety.
Okay, well, I'm rooting for you on that front. I know a lot of people are. We saw you talking about a new Memphis. Obviously, Memphis does have issues, but I just keep going back to the holistic thing you're saying, and we got to look at the root problem. So I appreciate that you have an eye towards that. One other issue I wanted to mention, something that people have brought up to us, is the issue of the police chief, CJ Davis. I think she's in an interim status right now. What are your thoughts about Chief Davis, whether or not she should stick around?
Yeah, well, obviously, I support her. I've stood by her, and I stand by my recommendation for her appointment. I do understand the concern within the community, the questions, and so that's why myself and City Council, we agreed to table the discussion around appointment and allow her to serve in an interim capacity. And we use this time, I say we, me and her and our administration, we use this time to show and prove, because at the end of the day, Memphis needs results. We need to get to work. I've been talking and having discussions and meetings with her since I won the election in October. We've been planning things that we want to try to get done. And I firmly believe it is not the time for us to go on a search for a new police chief. At a time when we're dealing with a DOJ investigation, we have lawsuit, we have a lot of stuff that's going on. My goal is for us to be doing the things that bring that holistic public safety. I want our police department working with our intervention team so that we're sharing data on who we need to be targeting, not to catch them in a punitive sense, but to bring more opportunity to their lives. There are things that we're doing that I want to press the gas on instead of slowing down and waiting a few months as we go through a search.
There was a report by MLK 50 that a lot of the reforms that they said were coming into play were not being implemented. That, like, Mayor Strickland on his way out basically said, yeah, those things that we were going to do, we didn't actually do them. Do you think CJ had her hands tied, or did she have a role in that?
I mean, I think there was just there were multiple truths. Mayor Strickland did not support it, and he was pretty vocal about that. Chief Davis felt like these things are now law, so we have to, at a minimum, adjust our policies and get our officers to get the understanding of what that policy means. So they did go forth with some trainings at the roll calls, like they tend to do when new things are passed down. And officers, some of the officers were doing it. Some of them may not have been doing it. We don't know which ones were doing what. But what we are saying now, as of today, you have a mayor that supports the ordinances as approved by City Council, and so we're all moving forward accordingly.
Has there been a shift since the Tyree Nichols situation, the tragedy? Do you feel like they got the message?
I mean, I think everybody felt, the tragedy in their own way, and I definitely think that we all hear the message. What I like to say is that nationally, we know that there are things that need to be done around policing, and we were already headed down that path. And so this incident just hardens our perspective that we have to do all the things we can to ensure that our people are getting the respect and dignity that they deserve.
Appreciate your time. I'm going to let you go here. I just want to give you a chance here at the end to just, you know, if you have any words to the people that saw that press conference today, saw, a lot of people standing next to people they don't necessarily trust,
Yeah.
what would you say to those people about, what's coming down the pike, and if they have some hesitation about trusting leadership of our state?
Yeah, well, what I will say is that I'm the mayor of a major American city, the mayor of a city that has the highest number of African Americans per capita than any large city in the country. Memphis is a great American city, and it's going to take a range of solutions to get the results that we want. We have some challenges, no question about it, but we're going to work with any and everybody to try to get the things that we need for our people. Point blank, period. I don't care if they're Republican, Democrat, Black, white, Hispanic, wherever you're coming from. We want the best for our people. That means we'll fight for our people, but we're also going to join hands with others for our people. And while we were talking about something that was more on the line of the criminal justice approach for public safety today, tomorrow you may hear us talking about how we're looking at an Office of Violence Prevention and other things that are going to help bring more resources into the community. And just know that we are committed as a city to elevate our state. If you think about Memphis, Memphis is a city that when you see us rise, you see all the things happening in Nashville, Knoxville, and Chattanooga. You get all four of our cities clicking at the same time. Our state is unstoppable. And so I'm committed to working with you all and people that are watching, listening, legislators. We're going to elevate our community.
Appreciate that. I think just even you being on here right now is a testament to your accessibility. I never was able to get Strickland to do anything like that. He ran from me every time he saw me, basically. So, I just encourage you to listen to the people, make sure they have a seat at the table. I know Sexton and Senator Young or Senator Taylor and Senator Johnson don't tend to meet with the people when they talk about this stuff, but I feel like you might have a chance to do that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Mayor Young, thanks for joining us today. And
yeah, just want to add, like I'm always going to be open to meet. Like we're always going to be able to have candid discussions, whether we agree or disagree. I pride myself on being somebody that's accessible and always willing to answer the tough questions. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mayor Young. Have a good one.
All right, have a good one.
So that's Mayor Paul Young, Memphis mayor, hopped on right after a press conference about a crime initiative that Speaker Sexton, Senator Jack Johnson went to Memphis to talk about. It was bipartisan. There were a lot of Democrats standing there with them. Basically, what they're saying is there's going to be a change to our Constitution that's going to give judges more discretion to deny bail in certain circumstances. Judicial discretion seems like a key to that. If they're going to let judges decide, that's important as opposed to refusing to let judges decide. So that seems like a key. But also, these are the same guys, as we said, who don't expand Medicaid, flood the streets with guns, underfund education, keep wages low by union busting. These are the real underfund education. I think I said that, but it's worth saying twice. These are the guys that, are really contributing and exacerbating a lot of the problems that are at the root of our crime problem, our violence problem. I think like 8 or 9 of the top 10 most violent states, violent crime rate wise, are red states. Poverty is obviously a huge issue when it comes to this. And so the word that Mayor Young is using is holistic. That's important. Holistic. You cannot incarcerate our way out of a crime problem. If we could, we would be the safest country in the planet. 24%, I think, of the incarcerated people in the world are here in America. So, and it's also hard to take people like Speaker Sexton and Jack Johnson seriously on this topic when they are funded by Core Civic. They have a incentive to fill our prisons. So, as long as that is the case, it's going to be hard to see them as, coming from an altruistic place. But Mayor Young seems to be giving them the benefit of the doubt. DA Steve Mulroy was there. There were other Democrats there. So I guess we'll see how this plays out, this particular initiative. But this by itself will absolutely not solve any problem. And, there has to be a more holistic approach. Senator Raumesh Akbari put out a statement after the announcement. She was there with them. And, at the end of her statement, she says, first off, it's too easy for criminals to get guns. Beyond that, we need major investments to create access to healthcare, mental health care, safe housing, transportation, strong schools, after school programs, and on and on. So again, those are the preventative measures that need to be taken. And those are the bills and programs that Senator Johnson, Speaker Sexton, and others that were at that press conference kill every single time they come before them. So keep pushing. It's important to keep an eye on the whole ball here and not just the incarceration ball. And I think people are right to be skeptical, but understandable for a new mayor, I guess, to stand there and at least give it a shot with the leadership of the state, who I think anybody who follows the holler any amount of time will be skeptical of. But we'll see what happens. Appreciate the mayor jumping on here. If you have any questions, let us know. tnholler.com is where you can subscribe to get our twice weekly emails, and your small dollar monthly donations do keep us going. Thanks for following. We'll see you next time.